welcome to Spirit and Soul Sessions. I am Christina, and I am joined by Ian and Leanne. How are you guys doing?
Good. Hi, guys. How are you doing, Christina?
Hi,
I
guys.
am wonderful. What are we talking about today?
Today we are talking about the mind. And the function of the mind is reason. The nucleus of the mind is hope. So the nucleus of the mind is hope, and it functions around reasoning for our needs. Within the nucleus of hope, there is a high character. So high character only works in collaboration with the healthy ego, which we'll talk about in our next session more in detail. But it's a fabrication of the mind need and ego feeling to have a social perception of reputation, credibility, and significance. And we'll dive more into the ego next time, of course.
Okay.
You want to add anything?
Yeah, I just want to add that hope gives us expectations. So the nucleus of us as a beings, as sentient beings, we have the hope compared to all other animals. What hope means really is planning. So because you can plan, we can plan as humans that give us certain amount of expectation, like how to achieve a goal, and that expectation it brings us suffering, regardless if we achieve the goal or not. It's like calling it chasing desires. So
yeah, learning how to make plans without expectations is really the trick to being able to plan without getting frustrated. Watching the signs that tell us to keep going or to stop and go a different direction. Those expectations can really hurt us if we're expecting something and it doesn't happen the way we expect it. It can be crushing in certain situations. So if we can go into a plan knowing things are going to probably change at some point and be willing to adjust with those changes as they happen, and not expecting a particular outcome, just go with the flow of what happens, knowing that the best outcome is going to happen in the end as long as we follow those signs and feel through the process.
that's correct.
Right.
So there's 8 prime components to the mind as well. The first one is the need of growth. The mind is designed to desire growth within ourselves and within our reality. When we attain physical growth, then we start accumulating growth within our space that was developed by our soul long before human incarnation. And we'll talk more about soul travel after we discuss ego. So that's coming up in a future episode.
Okay.
One more thing about the mind, because you said the need of growth. Mind has duality. Everything, the soul, the spirit, the free will, the satellite of the soul, it does not have duality. And I'm not going to call it singularity. It's just, that's kind of like misconstrued word, singularity, even though it's a little black hole inside the soul, where the absolute truth is absorbing all the light. But so that's what singularity is. But the mind has duality is in the mind only. Starting with the mind is duality. So everything we're gonna say right now, the need of growth, it has a pair. It will pair up with, and we're gonna go to the need that the growth is gonna pair, which is gonna be the need of contribution. So those two is gonna work. Everything's gonna work into pairs. Need of growth with the need of contribution. Need of adoration, which is love. We're going to talk about it. Is going to pair with the need of significance. Ego resides.
Okay, well let's pair it up with the need of growth, the need of contribution.
Yes.
The need of contribution is balanced in the mind with the need of growth. When we contribute to others, society, etc., it expands our hearts in joy. Joy is not to be confused with happiness, as this is our soul's comfort. The need of contribution is related with our soul element of generosity, which generates altruism, the unselfish regard for the well-being of others or service to others. When we contribute to others' comfort and joy, we ourselves are filled with this joy. For the purpose of life is to live through experienced situations where we will find joy, the ultimate purpose, bringing joyful momentum to our galaxy and our universe.
I want to make sure to, this is my opinion and my opinion alone. So the definition for me, the definition of altruism is help without money. I just want to simplify it.
It's your physical energy.
It's an exchange of energy that doesn't require the energy of monetary system. You just help. So, that's my definition. Now, everybody's got their own opinion, so they can come up with their own meaning and definition of altruism.
I concur. I concur. Okay, so let's talk about the need of adoration.
Sure.
And then what it pairs up with. The need of adoration, everyone wants to be adored and receive attention from others. We need human touch, human connection, and human interaction. We're just social beings. What is perceived as love in the mind is actually adoration. So we need to be loved. We have the need to feel loved. We need to be adored, which is intertwined with emotional attachment. Emotional attachment is not to be confused with addiction. But that need of adoration, you want people to adore you. You want to be loved for your actions or whatever it is we're doing. Everyone wants to be liked, loved, adored.
That's where confusion comes in place. Everybody says, I love you, right? What everybody means is I need you to adore me and I need you to allow me to adore you. That's what I love you means. And that is a point of attention. That's what adoration gives you. Even children, after 2 years old, they want that point of attention, whether it's a touch or it's just hearing themselves or just talking loud, or they want that point of attention. That's
right.
Is what they're doing. Everything they're doing is to get attention. And it's not stopping. They're not stopping. That's you growing up like that.
Well, it kind of cycles back when they get older.
When it does not really, it's just all people want attention too. And it's just
but
in the different way.
The mind when they reach that older cycle starts to revert back like a child, so then they have the same kind of tendencies. It depends on the person.
Yeah, it depends on
many things.
Most of it, as you grown up as an adult, you have the ability and capability to balance your attention within how you call it, to balance it with the environment, to see how much you can get, to not get intrusive to others just to get your own attention, to not insert yourself in just things just because, and because when you have to balance it when you grow up, because otherwise it's going to affect your reputation if you just keep on inserting yourself on everything or trying to get attention anytime you want. People think that you're just trying so hard to make yourself smart, and you're not. To prove yourself right, and you're not. That's a very important need, the need of adoration, because it generates attention.
And it gets so overly so sometimes that people go to an extreme and they don't care if they're getting positive or negative attention. It's just whatever it takes, they're getting some kind of attention. And
that's narcissism.
That's where that narcissism. Oh my God.
That's where the ego has run away.
Mm-hmm.
Then when the ego
Yep.
gets it and starts running away with, I'm always right. I'm never wrong.
It reminds me of the.
I'm perfect. I never do any wrong. Yeah, it gets.
Kind of reminds me of the nursery rhyme and the dish ran away with the spoon. The mind ran away, or the ego ran away with the mind.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it's exactly what it is because as we're going to talk about the next week, or not next week.
Yeah,
Next
no, in a couple of weeks.
In a couple of weeks about the ego. That's where this need of adoration is going to pair up with.
The next one is the need of significance.
Yeah, the need of significance is very significant because is the house of the ego. The ego is so small; it's just a dot in that need. It's pairing up with a need of adoration.
Mm-hmm.
So the more it just goes back and forth, like the need of growth and contribution go back and forth. The more contribution you give, the more growth you get. The more growth you get, the more you fill up the bucket of contribution to have more to give. So it's the same thing with the need of significance. The more significance you are, the more you can adore other people because your bucket is filled. And the more you can adore people, the people adore you, give you more back, the significance and going back and forth. And that's a really nice way of dealing with this. And everything, by the way, goes through the center of it, through hope. So when you give significance to somebody, you're always hoping that you're going to be adored. And that's not always the case because remember, the hope gives you expectation. So that's not always the case that you, like, for example, in a relationship, you admire somebody and you make give a woman a compliment. And you expect in return to be something that,
Oh, thank you.
some sort. And you're not going to get that. So the expectation or something is not what you shouldn't expect anything. So that's where the need of significance in adoration is running through hope. So everything is running through hope. All needs, contribution and growth is running through hope.
But that's the definition of unconditional as no expectations.
Well, it has
when
to
you
be
do
more
something
defined.
unconditionally, when you do something unconditionally, you don't expect anything in return. You do it with no conditions. And in my opinion, maybe this is just my opinion, but in my opinion, expectations is a condition, which means it's not unconditional. Right?
Real sense.
Feel lots of sense. It is. Let's do this with children, right? I mean, you're the mother and you teaching your daughter something, and you are not expecting something in return, at least for her to listen to you. So you do expect something, even unconditional love. The way it's so,
you're still expecting the respect, or you're expecting them to listen at least, but it doesn't always happen either.
If they completely ignore you, you're going to suffer because your expectation was not to ignore you. So it's a little subjective.
It's a little tricky. Yeah.
It's a little subjective. It's not always unconditional. So we can define unconditional. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Unconditional is a tricky word. Yeah. So unconditional love. I mean, if you go to the root.
So by filling the buckets back and forth, aren't we kind of feeding off of each other? Or am I misunderstanding that?
No, you're feeding off of yourself.
Yeah.
You're feeding off of yourself. The mind feeds off on its own. It's not like you take energy from somebody else. It's not like free will with decision making. The free will that does that, making decision for others because they have a title or they're your boss, or making decision for others takes energy from you. but the mind, it kind of like circulates itself. That's why the mind has duality. And by the mind giving significance to other, fills up its own bucket of adoration. That's why it pairs each other. And it doesn't matter if you have no expectations, you still have that adoration filling up because you give the significance. If you give adoration to somebody, it doesn't matter what the other, if you don't have any expectation, it doesn't matter what the other person responds is, you get some significance. You're going to feel good about it because you adore somebody. You're still going to feel good. At least you go home on your own little bedroom or something, and you're going to be like, I feel good about it. I had the courage to say something about, at least acknowledge how much I adore that person. So it doesn't matter what that person said or do. You're going to feel so much significant because of the courage that you have. You feel like you did the right thing. That's the definition of courage. But we're going to talk about the courage because it's in the mind too. So, significance pair up with adoration, and you fill your own bucket through hope. If you're not going to expect anything, if you're going to expect anything, you're going to drain the buckets. Both. So, yeah. Anyway, the next one is going to be the need of?
The need of curiosity. It's healthy to be curious in many ways, but this must be balanced with the need of courage, which we'll talk more about in just a second. Be mindful, though, as too much curiosity can lead to foolishness. Sometimes it's best not to know certain things. Using our intuition is very important in those situations.
Very important. The need of curiosity has a double-edged sword.
I'm guilty of this.
He has a double-edged sword because he has the best and the worst question in it. The question is why. So that's the worst question that you can possibly have, and the best question is just, it could get either way. It's a double-edged sword. The question why. I'm going to leave it at that. If somebody wants to practice that, both ends, both extremes.
3-year-olds are great at why. Why?
But why? 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 Because I said so, damn it.
Well, I mean, I remember all of my why questions, between 3 and 5, and I didn't get the answers that I was looking for. I didn't get what I was expecting, right? I was getting very simple explanations, and I wasn't happy with those. So when my kids came along, I've always tried to be very patient with all of those whys, because I remember how I felt in that age range,
And see, I'm kind of messed up because my daughter did that to me quite a bit when she was little, and so now that she's a teenager, she'll say something. But why? And she looks at me and she'll start to explain, and I'm like, but why? And she's like, and she, and she'll start trying to explain again. She's like, I don't know, and but why? And she's like, Mom, I'm like, how do you like it? How does it feel? And she's like, I don't know why you gotta be like that. I was like, payback's a bitch. I don't know what to tell you. Just really
I'm
is.
preparing you for your own children one day.
Right. Exactly. I'm preparing you early.
Yeah.
That was funny. But yeah, that's a double-edged sword. The need of curiosity, it has within a double-edged sword. Because of this question, because of the question why. Why the sky is blue? I don't know, it just is. I mean, but on the other hand, it's a great question because it's progress. So
I feel like it leads to that growth too, because it's you're asking questions, you're looking into things, and you're using that reasoning with all of these needs in the mind. So and that just helps us be more aware of what's going on around us. The more we understand certain things and why certain things are, but yeah, we have to be careful with the need of curiosity. I can say that sometimes it's a little.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't need to look at every little thing because
sometimes you really just didn't want to know like you thought you did. So
yeah.
The need of curiosity, it has two sides to it. That's why it pairs very well with the need of courage. It has an idea, and because of the high curiosity, it has an application, a practical application to idea. So some people stops at the application of the idea. They doubt themselves and they say, that's stupid. I'm not going to do it. Yeah. So it pairs up with the need of courage. So your idea, it can only be applied to if you get a little courage.
And the need of courage is what is needed to get out of the emotional state of anxiety. We need courage to move from one thing to the next, especially when things are uncertain, which brings us to the need of uncertainty. So the need of uncertainty can be super fun, as many of us like to be surprised or be unsure of what's next. It can be kind of like an adrenaline rush, an unfamiliar future, like a great mystery. What's coming next? Anticipation is usually half the fun in the need of uncertainty. But that has to be balanced with the need of certainty. As we discussed earlier, balancing these two needs in the mind will lead to a more equal distribution. I can't talk today. A more equal distribution of certainty and uncertainty. If we have too much uncertainty in our life, we will suffer emotionally and will bring more stress into our boundaries or auras, which can cause many issues in the physical body. Like when you need a vacation from your vacation.
Yeah.
I mean, God, I hate that.
We're living in uncertain times now, so this is a perfect example of that uncertainty. Mm-hmm. We're uncertain how money's going to be. We're uncertain how the government's going to take forward certain situations and issues. We're uncertain of our economic situation. We're uncertain of how the earth is moving or not moving, or we're uncertain of everything.
Tilting or not.
Right. Yeah. Like there's a lot of uncertainty. So and that puts a lot of stress on a lot of people all over the globe, that uncertainty of not knowing how to plan, not knowing how to, they can't have an expectation if there's no hope. You're losing this hope of what's coming next. So you're like, I don't know. And it creates a lot of chaos on many, many levels.
But that also forces you to stop planning. That also forces you to stop planning because you're supposed to let things flow. You're supposed to, allow things to happen with the universe that are, aligned, that are aligned with you, and your highest timeline. And not planning helps you kind of forcefully step into that, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I have a very strong belief that everything happens for a reason, and reason is part of the mind. Mm-hmm. So if we can understand, and we're not always going to understand the reason behind certain things, but if we can watch those signs and flow with everything that we feel, and in those uncertain times, we're able to see the magic of how our divine really does work through everything, for our highest interests. Our free will and spirit are working with these things. If we can just pay attention to our internal beings of guidance, then we can navigate anything.
We need uncertainty, because if you are constantly certain, you're going to go crazy.
I think it would get boring.
look at people that have all the money.
Yeah,
those are the people, the revolutionary. Because they need that uncertain phase of them. They got everything they want. Their certainty doesn't even matter anymore. They can go be a 365 days vacation. They don't want that. They want to become revolutionary. Yeah. Antifa. They want to just look at the Antifa kids. They're like, usually they're like their parents. They're rich. It's just, yeah, they need uncertainty in their life. So that's
they need adventure. They need some excitement, but they've taken it in the wrong direction.
This is very important.
Yeah.
But because these uncertain places would actually, the need of uncertainty is a danger also, because it could create mass formation. People don't understand that. They can look it up. But this need of uncertainty can create mass formation. Actually, the too much need of certainty that rebalance with and pair up with the need of uncertainty, too much certainty creates this mass formation, and that's very dangerous for the society. So yeah, we need to have certainty in our life to be able to get some vacation, because also the need of uncertainty creates joy. You can't wait for that. You can only hope and plan and wait for the vacation and spend lots of money for the vacation to do and get what? Not happiness, because you are happy. You have certainty in your life. You make a lots of money to pay for a good vacation and have comfort. So that's happiness. You're happy with your job. You're happy with everything. You're happy with your money. So what you expect from your vacation? Because you expect an uncertain time, something that makes you free and makes you joyful. That's the uncertainty brings that into your life. Jumping cords under a bridge or whatever that uncertainty is. Don't know how it's gonna end. That adrenaline rush also. That's an uncertainty thing. Jumping out of airplane. And you don't know if the parachute is gonna open or not. Just kidding. But
act to the best of your ability in your highest joy in whatever form it comes.
Yeah, exactly. So it pairs up obviously with the need of certainty, where too much certainty is not good either, because it drives you nuts, and too much uncertainty is stressing you to the point of trauma,
boredom.
That's
and that too, or that, yeah. You go either way.
That's we forgot to talk about the connection between the mind and emotional state is trauma. That's something.
It's very good at that one.
Yeah, traumatic events that you have no control over. You have control over stress. You do not have control over traumatic events. So those two are emotionally high causes in our reality, and it's just, one is controllable, stress is controllable, trauma is not. It's completely outside of you, and you don't know how to deal with that.
And the need of courage is what is needed to get out of the emotional state of anxiety. I mean, we talked about that in emotions last week.
We talked about that, yeah. Courage is a component of ourself that it expresses in two different entities that guides us. In emotions, it's a great component of constructive anxiety, to deal with the constructive anxiety, and in the mind to apply or have an application to your curiosities, to your idea that you're curious about it. You have the need, the courage to go do it. Tesla invented the electricity, but that was in his head. But he got some courage to come from Croatia, where he was born, by the way, to come from Croatia to the United States, and got some guts and went to JP Morgan asking for money and tried to develop his idea. He has some courage to work with Edison and everything. Edison was a powerful man, he had AC electricity going for him, and JP Morgan was really respecting him. And Tesla comes along and says, no, I want the other way around. Edison did a DC and yeah, and
that sounds right.
yeah, and Tesla did, well, I'm just gonna put on AC and make a better electricity. It's
Make
not
free
just a
energy.
battery. It's gonna be. No, he actually initially didn't. He didn't try to make the free energy. He tried to.
That was later, right?
That was later. He got that project going in Colorado, but we're not going to go in Tesla history. I'm just saying that Tesla has had the courage to apply to his curiosities, to his light boltings, what he saw when he was a kid in Croatia. So he had the guts to come over to America, to go and talk about finances and talk about his ideas. And you need courage for that. So, therefore, he improved the rest of the world. Actually, we live today, and I'm talking to you, Christina, because of Tesla, with the electronics and electric current and all that. I might be a little mixing up the AC and DC, but yeah.
I'm not sure either, to be honest.
Yeah,
at this point.
I'm not an expert on electricity,
You
but
know what?
I know.
She's like, I don't know either.
Yeah.
I have no.
Anyway, we were talking about.
I think Tesla was AC, but I don't know for sure.
It doesn't matter what he did.
Yeah.
Change the Earth's way of doing things prior to him. I mean, Edison alone would have not been able to do that with the DC because it's just battery.
Yeah.
He actually created something that the government took over and give us, even if we have to pay for it. I mean, they didn't want us to have free energy, obviously. So even if we have to pay for it, he still created something that we use today that changed the face of the earth for every single individual.
Changed our comfort.
Change our awarenesses.
Many.
Our point of focus, our point of attention, everything changed once Tesla had the courage to put his project in reality. Just get it out of his head and get his mind going and work on it. Anyway, the need of we were talking about the need of uncertainty. We just got back to courage, but the
need of certainty is pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah,
I mean, we kind of covered that with uncertainty too.
Yeah, the need of certainty is the constructive, positive way of uncertainty. None of them, in having a lot of that, none of them are good. You have to have a balance between certainty and uncertainty. If you have too much certainty in your life,
right,
then you're like going crazy to not having enough joy or enough uncertainty. If you have too much uncertainty, you stress yourself out. Like people in Auschwitz, every day they were uncertain. Their life was uncertain every single minute in a camp. So I'm not going into religions or anything because they were humans, they were souls, and that's what I'm looking at.
right.
The division of you are this and you are that. I just don't care. Religion, race, and all that. I just don't care. I'm looking at inside every single person because they're a soul. That's you are a soul. You are not what you look in a mirror to be. So, yeah, they kill lots of souls. They didn't in World War II.
They killed bodies of souls.
We're just the meat suit.
No, they kill the bodies.
Before, I know our time is getting away from us. Before we close out today, I wanted to highlight that the mind is a very powerful entity. The mind is the only entity that can travel. So at night when we sleep, the mind travels while our physical body rests and regenerates. So, like if somebody drinks too much, I know we've discussed this before, but if somebody drinks too much, then the mind tends to leave the body in a way, or wants to leave the body, and is collaborating with the spirit. So, when if we were to drink too much and the mind leaves, 2.0 version comes in and takes over, but the spirit is keeping everything else running.
Is why alcohol is called spirits.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So when we go to sleep at night and we dream, that's when our mind leaves and brings back premonitions and dreams, all that kind of stuff. Anything you want to add to that?
No, it's just you go ahead.
See, but that explains why, because spirit is truth. And when the mind leaves and the spirit takes over, that's why, I wasn't, I didn't mean what I said. No, you meant what you said. Truth came out. It's okay,
Well, you're talking about drunk people?
Yeah, when they're drinking. Yeah.
Oh, okay. But
yes.
Whenever you're asleep too, the spirit takes over is like keeping the harmony between our organs and between our cells in our body, DNA and all.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like we're going to be left alone. It's like Jesus said, right? I'm going to leave you with the Holy Spirit. But it's not because he said it. He already knew that
it was part of us.
That was part of us. Yeah. It's the Holy Spirit takes over when the mind is on. So when you sleep or in a coma or things like that. And
and then right before an accident happens, the mind is replaced by the spirit. So like if there's an imminent accident, time slows down, like the Cave of Brahma that we've discussed before.
And the spirit. Everything
happens in slow motion, so the spirit's running at so many more frames per second than the mind can, that we see it in slow motion, and it's like,
So let's say again, the mind runs with 24 frames per second.
The spirit is quite fast.
And yes.
I mean, like a cheetah is very spirited. They go quickly. So if we're watching things move in that frame, it'll look like it's slow motion to us at that point. So
okay.
Anything else you want to cover on the mind?
Yeah, to keeping balance everything, as much as you can, all those needs. You have to have your buckets full, like all these needs to be full. The need of curiosity, the need of growth, the need of adoration, the need of everything.
Courage, certainty, significance.
If a perfect balance, we just can't. I have a perfect balance on all those at all time. Would be 12% on each bucket, and the rest of it is going to be going to the center, to the hope, the nucleus. So if you calculate 8% times 12% times
12.5%.
No, it's 12%. The rest of it, 12% to each component of the mind, and the rest of it is going to go to the hope. So 12 times 8 is 90 something, and the rest of it is go, because everything is like a paying duty to the hope. Everything goes through the hope. It's like a boat or something, a toll boat. Yeah, so everything is like you pay to the hope because you go through the hope to get to the other side of your respective.
Be like a 0.5% from each one.
Yeah, 0.5% from each one, it goes to the hope. Yeah, so at a 12.5%, 0.5% is going to be going to the hope, And the hope pays expectation too a little bit, So the hope loves expectation. The mind loves expectation. The mind loves to complicate things.
Yes.
The mind does not want things to be simple. Why is it simple? No, I got to complicate this. I love this.
There must be a million rabbit holes I can go down, says the need of curiosity.
Yeah, the need of curiosity.
My
exactly.
brain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why is
my
this
brain
like this?
always goes that way. My brain always goes complex instead of simple. And my dad gets so frustrated. He's like, Christina. And he's like, it's right there. And I'm like, but it needs to be way out here because that's where my mind went, So my brain's wired that way for some reason. It just always goes complex instead.
I think everybody's is in the beginning. I think everybody's is at the beginning, but just understanding if once we're aware of certain things, we can adjust them, and as we go through experiences, you know what I mean? So, the high character is also incorporated with the nucleus of hope, and it is in the core of the 8 personalities within the mind's needs. The high character and the ego's nucleus of virtue, which we'll talk more about later, work together in harmony and balance. The feelings stem from the mind's need to feel adoration, curiosity, certainty, contribution, courage, uncertainty, and of course, growth and significance. This, of course, will expand with the mind's creation of the ego, and the ego begins to form around 12 to 13 years old, around puberty, from the womb of the mind of significance.
I like that, the womb of the mind of significance. Yes, and that's what it is. I have no comments. I have no comment. I actually wanted to say something. I forgot. Lost my train of thought, but
sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. It's trying to remember. I don't remember what I wanted to say. It puts me.
It's okay.
Yeah. Okay.
It's gonna drive you crazy.
It will. You will. Yes. Yeah. You go ahead.
So like he was discussing, one must have all personalities in balance as much as possible. Like we said, 12.5% of each. These are to be used in different social environments to master the high character within its own ethical awareness. This should be done in a way as to not harm yourself or anyone in your proximity. By using these personalities in different social environments, we are experiencing different versions of ourselves that already exist within. By expressing our minds, we are being curious, contributing to society. We are looking for adoration and attention, as well as exploring all other components in order to experience as many possible outcomes to further our growth and expansion as a whole being. Of course, this can be changed as personalities can be altered. So like when we hang out with friends, we may be able to revert back to an old personality. Your 14-year-old self might come out when you meet a friend that you hung out with at 14. You know what I mean? Like that old personality can come back out because of that's the relationship you have with that person at that point in time in your life. It might not be completely how you would be with someone else, but it might be the most truest form of you.
Right.
Yeah, I remember what I wanted to say. The mind constantly works to fulfill its own obligation towards growth. Nothing else matters to the mind but the mental growth. And for the past 100,000 years, we shifted since we start having shame, Adam and Eve and stuff. We shifted from growth, mental growth, and that's being decayed. I'm talking mental growth, not physical growth or spiritual growth, only mental growth. And that's being decayed because the mind starts working towards its own little child, the ego. So it starts working towards its own significance instead of growth. So that's why people are trying to say, I'm getting enlightened or wherever, because we constantly try to go back to the mental growth instead of mental significance. And but how we reconciliate those two, because that's what we have the biggest problem. We have to reconciliate. Do we really wanted to go to mental growth and have alignment, whatever that means, illuminated, or do you want to have the titles? Because people seems to have
a lot of pride in their
this duality into their thing, that they want their title but want to say, I've been awake for I don't know how long, like mental growth, but they want their title. I'm a doctor, I'm a PhD, I have experience, I'm a expert, I'm a whatever you are, titles, credentials, and stuff.
It seems to be a race for people, like they're competing with each other for, I've been awake longer, or I've known this
that
more,
feels like
or
evil.
I have this degree. Yes, it is.
Yeah, because for 102,000 years, it's a specific number, but yeah, for 102,000 years,
100 what?
102,000 years, we've been working with this ego, with its nucleus, it's a virtue, and it resides in significance. So the mind kind of went towards this virtue, more credentials and titles, thinking that is accomplishing in the long run is accomplishing growth, but it kind of left the mental growth behind, and it decays to the point of zombieism is a possibility.
They've fed that narrative through mainstream media. They've fed the narrative through school systems and colleges and all of these things that they've fed this specific thing, the specific type of information through for a really long time. Mess with our history. All these things can really mess with
not the mind,
the growth part, because if you're hearing the wrong part, the wrong information, you can't grow from truth if you weren't given the truth to begin with. Yeah. So it really stunts the whole growth process there.
Yeah, exactly. The growth process, because religion
really
and education
just boosts the ego instead.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's what religion and education trying to do, to play with your ego, trick your ego, and claim spirituality.
While they're manipulating your emotions.
While they're taking your money. Both.
Yep.
Education is from the government, not private education, by the way, because private education, homeschooling, I don't think the parents that school their own children are going to take their money. So I'm talking about public education and religion. Both of them are the same. That they play with your ego and claim spirituality, or as education claim titles and credential and a diploma and whatever they wanted to claim. So on education side.
Before we close out, I wanted to make one more comment.
Go ahead.
I think it's really cool as a parent to be able to watch, to understand the mind and when it begins to develop from a parental standpoint, and watch your children go through this process. So if the mind starts developing around 2 to 4 years old, but it really starts to pick up steam around 5 years old, the wheels are turning more, and you can really understand that they're putting things together. They're starting to reason a little bit, and each year, 5, 6, 7, 8, it really just increases. So it's interesting to watch it from a parental standpoint, and see how things are progressing on a physical level. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that out for parents that have children around that age, that it's I find it very fascinating to understand the needs of the mind, and then watching your child grow into those needs and what needs they have and how they express themselves,
And on a practical, to understand better, it's like on a practical way, from the practical point of view, it is a point in every child, not timeline, but biological time. In every child, it doesn't have to be 5 or 4 or 6. But 5 is, like you said, this seems to be that
roundabout.
And from the practical point of view, when children start pushing a little buttons to their parents and they testing them, and when they try to trick them a little just to see how far they can get, that's from the practical point of view. You can say, oh, my kids got starting their mind develop.
They're starting to reason now.
Starting to reason. When they start to tricky stuff, then when you know, they start to reason.
Oh, I thought you would never find out. Yeah.
Well, I didn't mean to. The hell you didn't.
I'm sorry. I apologize. Stop saying you're sorry. Just do what we asked first, please. It's fun to watch them grow, though. Yep. I really think that's pretty much all that we have to cover on the mind today. And I know we're going a little long again, so I didn't want to go too long. But is there anything else you wanted to add before we close out, or do you have any questions, Christina, or comments?
No.
Not even one question?
She did throughout. We discussed.
I asked my questions throughout, and I said what I needed to say. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying that is because if you didn't have any questions, that means you've been grown. Your mind is grown. Totally.
Gotcha. Then my mind.
You understand. You're aware of this. You are no real. Seriously, you are aware of the things now.
Right.
That it makes sense to you, or it feels sense to you, to the mind level, how it functions. So it's kind of like, well, I know it now. So
I know the mind got lonely and decided. Yeah, I know the mind needed. I know the mind got lonely and decided to create the freaking ego and
the rebellious child.
We're not going to go there.
No, it's not that. No, we didn't create the ego for that. The mind is in charge of our survival. So way before, for 2 million years, the mind got a little overwhelmed because the population was like expanding and all that. And the mind got overwhelmed with survival and reproduction or replication. So it needed the help just to deal with the reproduction part of it. So the ego was created to deal with that specific intimacy and for survival of the species. So the mind created the ego because it was overwhelmed, and that's why it created the ego in the first place. Now we take the ego from relationship between a woman and a man and bring it to work. It doesn't function right. With titles, with CEOs, with I don't know, credential. I finish up this university and I'm a PhD and I'm okay. I got I went to school, but
that's what
it doesn't matter.
Those personalities, having those different personalities in the mind, because you have a personality when you're at work, you have another personality when you come home to your family, or hopefully you do. And that's where, like, understanding that there's a personality in the bedroom and there's a personality in the living room, like there's different personalities for different situations.
Well, I'm trying to say the mind was being very well for 2 million years and all of a sudden got overwhelmed. And that's where the story of Garden of Eden come in place.
Adam and Eve and the eating from the tree of good and evil.
Adam and Eve, yeah. And eating from an apple.
Wow.
The seed.
Some kind of fruit.
Yeah. So that's when the ego was created for, obviously, Adam and Eve relationships. Like, help me, please, with the righteousness. How am I supposed to do as a man? How am I supposed to be as a woman? And help me, ego. That was a cry for that, for the knowledge, the fruit of knowledge, the righteousness, the morals. So
the ego is a good thing, but we just need to know how to balance it. And understanding all these bodies within ourselves is going to help us all be able to balance that ego and all the other bodies together. So But we're probably going to take a couple of weeks off and come back and talk about the ego. And then we'll discuss soul travel after that. That's exciting. But we are all physically moving a lot of pieces at the moment on both sides, it sounds like. So,
yes,
we will get to it as quickly as possible, but we're excited to get the rest of it out. And any questions along the way, we can throw in another episode to address those as well. So, I think that's all we have for today.
Perfect.
Right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Thank you so much, Christina, for hosting again, as always. And
you're welcome. Thank you.
If anybody has any more questions or some, subscribe down below and watch this video and ask us anything. We're going to answer all your questions. Trust me, individually. We'll take it all and we'll answer it in a timely manner kind of thing. But we will answer individually all questions. Yes, as long as it takes. I don't care.
That's what we're here for.
Every human deserves to be understand to be understood to its own level and helped
and have that conversation. You know, there might be questions that we haven't thought of yet. You know, so it's all a learning process for all of us.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
The need of growth. We want to grow together. So join us in growing together in our own individualized, unique ways.
Yeah, there is no stupid question. So please subscribe.
All right. Thank you so much, Christina.
Thank you, Christina.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys. See you soon.
Have a great week.